It's 5 a.m. somewhere, so that means the garbage collectors are coming to take out the trash. But we won't throw you out.
Welcome to Your Trash Pals podcast, coming to you this spooky month from the graveyard. We are just dancing. We're spooky, scary skeletons, just playing our ribs like little xylophones. And what else are we doing in this graveyard as spooky scaries?
We're eating dirt and scaring teens.
The thing that scares teens the most. Not even worms.
Just dirt.
Have you ever approached a teenager with a handful of dirt in your hand and gone, all right, you want to see something cool?
I think they would be scared or at least intrigued.
I don't think any of them. That's a good way, like, if adults were like trying to like scare kids into like being better, like they take them to old dirt eater McGee. But besides eating dirt live on the air, we're also a podcast about comics, art, culture, whatever little bits of trash we found while picking through the garbage bin. I'm old dirt eater McGee Van Notes.
And I'm a worm named just a worm.
So we are so excited for Spooky Month. I have lined up a bevy. That's the word I'll use. A bevy of guests to talk to us about their various favorite pieces of spooky trash. And we really couldn't celebrate Halloween without some of these people, including the wonderful our wonderful guest today. So we need to bring her into the conversation as soon as possible. So Madeline McGrane is a cartoonist from Minneapolis. I went to school with her. We went to the Minneapolis College of Art and Design together, which is where we came united through ice and cake vodka in our college years. And she has done many wonderful books, wonderful zines that everyone should be reading. But definitely her graphic novel, The Accursed Vampire, is her two graphic novels. The first and the second one, they are essential middle grade graphic novels for those little kiddos who love spooky season. So without further delay or embellishments on my part, here is Madeline McGrane. Yay!
Ooh.
Hello, I'm Madeline McGrane. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're very happy to have you.
So before we get to what Madeline's brought to us today, this delightful nugget she's had us sniff through the dirt for like a truffle by a big old forest boar. We got a lot of interesting metaphors today. A lot of dirt digging. We have to talk about what trash we've been consuming this week. Most of mine has been podcast related while I've been traveling. So I feel like I haven't been consuming as much trash as I could. But so I'll start with Wren. Wren, do you have any excellent trash?
Yeah, at first I was like, oh, I can talk about Big Love, but I only watched like the opening and then was like, I'm bored immediately. But I ended up watching, I will come back to it because I had watched it before and I remember it gets interesting, but in the beginning it's boring. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, right. I've been watching a lot of Financial Audit with Caleb Hammer on YouTube. Where people come on his show and they're like, I suck at finances. And he's like, yeah, you fucking do. And he yells at them while they go through their like their credit card statements and their bills and stuff like that. And he's like, you idiot. You use your credit card to buy McDonald's when you have a child that you're not like saving your money for. And just, it's very like, oh my god. But I really like it because A, it makes me like think a little bit more about my finances, and B, it's just like, I'm describing it really poorly, but he's very funny. He's yelling at these people and you're like, oh my god, but it's very funny.
So it's like Gordon Ramsay, except instead of like chefs, it is people's just accounting.
Yeah, it's people like all walks of life. Like they had a bunch of like couples who were like parents and stuff like that. And then they had like this guy who was like 20 years old and somehow accrued debt already. It's like you just got it. You just got the debt or just got the ability to get debt and you immediately do the debt. Yeah, but it was really funny. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Especially the episode where the guest like hits on Caleb and he's like, "Yeah, no, bye." It's very funny cuz he's kind of cute in his own way, which does mean that he's cute, but it's just a crazy show. It's very crazy. That's my trash.
You want to know my favorite way of getting into debt as a early 20-year-old? Going to art school.
Yes. Oh boy,
Very
going to
nice.
art school and then getting a late master's degree. You'll have a lot of debt.
It's a great way to just dive right into the world of debt.
Yeah, before age 20.
Exactly.
Madeline, do you have some trash you've been consuming this week?
That I've been consuming this week. I only watched the first 20 minutes, but I did start watching. I guess we're on a YA movie theme today. I did start watching the Uglies movie that just dropped on Netflix. I remember reading the book a long time ago, and I just wanted to see what was going on. But it's one of those movies where I'll watch it in like 12-minute chunks while I eat lunch every day. So I'll finish it in a couple weeks.
Those are excellent kinds of films that everyone should have in their media library.
It's true. I remember when the Uglies were out, and I don't know, maybe Madeline, you have like a different opinion than I do, but I feel like they just got it like the energy like wrong. Like it's too silky smooth in the movie.
Yeah, it's like very weird looking. That's not what I was imagining when I read the book as a teenager, but it is like very glossy. I guess everyone is comparing it to like the Yasify filter, and that's just
Yes.
what it looks like. So I guess that's
It's the-
what I should have expected in 2024.
Now I'm pulling up the phone. I need to
Please
see
do.
what this looks like. I
They
have
have-
very definitive like memories of the covers. Like I always like the covers.
They have Joey King playing the main girl, and then she's very pretty, just is, and then they're like, "Oh, this is when you become a pretty," and they just kind of like put some eyeliner on her. It was like, there you go.
Yeah.
This is very gray.
Well, it's dystopian.
Yeah. I pictured it in my head more like Great Gatsby-ish, their world.
Me too.
When I
Or the
read
world
those
from the Will
books.
Smith cowboy movie.
I guess I forgot my trash this week is I'm still on a like productivity, like Andrew Huberman, Tim Ferriss side of the internet kick. And I have noticed my productivity increasing, but truly at what cost as I attempt to remove friction from my life. And I set up multiple apps to capture all these different things. And the wildest thing I learned during one of these podcast interviews was a guy who's outsourced like so much of his life to 5 executive assistants in the Philippines. I can't even remember what this guy's name is. But he was just like, yeah, I have 5 executive assistants and they just send me things that are on my social media and I choose whether I'm going to engage with those things or not. And it's
That's
truly, yeah, and then it was just like one of those things where he said it so definitively, where afterwards I was like, do I need an executive assistant from the Philippines? Is this something I should have? Which ultimately, no, I do not need such a thing, but it was very wild.
That's so crazy. I can't imagine being productive. Straight up. It seems too hard.
Yeah, I think the only time in my life that I was productive was the summer I didn't have internet and I did not yet have a smartphone. So that's my secret. But if you need the internet for work, then that doesn't work also. So
It really raised the question of just like he also has his executive assistants go through and like wish everyone a happy birthday for him.
That's so funny.
That's useful.
It is a very like benign, but like it's such an interesting use. So I guess my question is what task would you like to do that you would have your executive assistant take care of?
This is like physically impossible, but the ride home from work, like I hate it. It's like 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Actually, it's an hour to an hour and a half for me to get home from work. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. I want to somebody else can deal with it. I want to just teleport.
Do you drive that or bus it?
Neither. I Uber it.
Oh.
It's terrible because where I live in undisclosed location, I don't live near the train. I don't live near the bus that come to the places I need to go, and I would need a car in the area, in the part of major city that I live in, to get places. But I don't have a car here, so I used to have to go in every day, and I was like spending like $500 on Ubers. Like my whole paycheck was, but now I only go in twice a week, so less money on Ubers, like $100 a week on Ubers.
Wild.
Wow.
It hurts. It hurts me.
Trying to think what my executive assistant would do. Manage all my social media, truly. Just outsource it to them. Have them create relatable content for me every day.
Yeah, have them like leave like nice, polite, peppy comments on things.
Oh yeah, that's good.
I feel like I don't know how to interact on social media the way that like a professional author should. So I need someone to do that for me.
Yeah. Did you know Trixie Mattel once said that if you don't post on Instagram 3 times a day, you're dead? And that quote has haunted me ever since I heard it. And I was like, crap.
It's
another
true,
thing,
the algorithm.
where it's like, this isn't real, like needing an executive assistant from the Philippines. But it was said so definitively where I was like, yikes. So
that's very funny. I haven't posted on Instagram in months, and I would like rise from the dead, post a little comic, go back to being dead, being a little worm in the dirt. But when I do post it, when I go on Instagram once a month, I really like it. I'm like, wow, I like my curated thing of art and friends, and like I'm a person who likes my ads on Facebook and Instagram. I get good ads. So I'm always like, I'm learning about new brands. Like I'm fully into capitalism, whether I wanted to or not. I'm just in there.
Delightful.
Yeah, I feel like my Instagram ads, they're usually something I could imagine that I would like. Often I find ads to be very distressing and something I would not like, but Instagram does a good job.
Good job, Instagram. Well, now that I've entered those torturous statements into your brains, I have a new world of torture for you, because it's time to open up once again Jigsaw's Junk Drawer, aka the segment where I have all these ridiculous little games that I come up with for Wren and our guests. And this episode's game is called You Must Choose One to Throw in the Trash, which is where I present you 2 hopefully equal in quality or trash objects, and you must choose which one you will throw in the trash. And this edition is vampire themed, in honor of our episode and of Madeline. So are you ready to play my little game?
Yes.
Also, yes. I was just thinking about that, like Bella, where you been, Loca? Like that was just playing in my head instead of answering your question.
I like that you responded as if you had any choice, if you hesitated and presented a different answer. So, let's go. The baseball scene from Twilight, the iconic baseball scene, or the vampire rave from Blade 2.
I mean, I have to keep the vampire rave.
Do
I
you
was
know
gonna say
both these scenes,
baseball.
Ren?
Yeah, I do. I know. I don't watch movies ever, but I do know this. I would pick the baseball one because that's all American. And in this podcast, we support America.
Whoa, how exciting to learn.
To learn.
I didn't realize we were taking a jingoistic turn.
Yeah.
That is a good point.
I'm really torn on this. I think just in terms of my ongoing like development as a person, the baseball scene from Twilight has a much greater impact on my psyche. So even though I would love to be a blood rave person, it must go in the trash for me. So second up here, lesbian icon Carmilla or X-Men Storm when she turned into a vampire?
How dare you? How dare you put these choices in front of me? I'll let Madeline go first because I'm mulling it over.
That's a really tough one because I do love Carmilla, but I also love Storm. I did not know that she was a vampire at any point, but I mean, as long as those comics have been going, many things can happen. Good for her. I don't know. I guess like Carmilla dies anyway, and so she can go in the trash.
To elaborate, I can tell you what happens with Storm as a vampire.
Yes,
Is
please do.
essentially like Dracula, who is a just character in the Marvel universe. Like he's just a guy that's around with like Captain America, Hulk, and Spider-Man, like at any given moment. Like he's just floating around all the time. He's like, I must have a bride who's equal to me. And I need to find a woman who's like as much as of a baddie as like I am. And he picks Storm, and he's like, now that is who I would like to be my wife. And he turns her, and she does become a vampire for like I think 2 issues or something like that before they release him from his control. Um, and it's one of the first instances I think of because Kitty Pryde of the X-Men, Shadowcat, she comes onto the scene, and it's I think one of the first instances where it's been shown that like any religious like icon can impact vampires because she has a Star of David, and she uses that to repel Dracula instead of a crucifix. Anyway, so it has definitely sparked many like lesbian crushes amongst X-Men fans, like very very pivotal defining moment.
I was trying to Google what Storm look as a vampire because I'm like, oh, I can just like if she has that stupid mohawk, then I can throw her in the trash. But nothing useful came up, so I'm like, Storm has had this stupid mohawk, so unfortunately, she has to go in the trash. I hate that stupid thing. And I've read really good Carmilla comics that are like, so I'll have to do that.
You don't like Mohawk Storm?
I don't. I hate it. I think it's so ugly.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have to come out against Mohawk Storm.
Thank you.
I'm ending this podcast.
No!
We're cutting this off at like 22 minutes. This episode's over. We came back from hiatus. The podcast's over. Friendships are over.
I didn't know you cared so much about Mohawk Storm.
You know what? And out of spite, Carmilla's going in the trash.
Oh my goodness. goodness.
Okay, next up, Adam Sandler Dracula from Hotel Transylvania or Dustin Hoffman's rendition of Dracula.
I'm like
The
Googling
typing.
Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah, I have to. I don't know this. I've also never seen Hotel Transylvania.
The side-by-side comparison right now.
Oh my
Dustin
goodness.
Hoffman's. Wait, am I referencing the right
Are you sure
actor? It's not Dustin
I don't
Hoffman.
think so.
It's this is bad. I'm a bad host. It's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
You're so funny.
Wait,
You are so funny.
It's Gary Oldman.
Oh my god.
Hoffman, old man.
Close enough.
Mans. So yeah, that guy.
I
Adam
would have
Sandler's
to go
going in the
with
trash.
the. Really? Oh my gosh. I was gonna pick him, but mostly because I've seen a lot of really good drawings of him, like super buff, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can get behind this like very strong Dracula, like this strong. I think they're by Twitter user Hamlet Machine. Shout out to them for
Oh.
drawing
Oh,
nice Draculas. Yeah.
thank you, Hamlet Machine.
Or not Dracula, Adam Sandler Dracula.
What?
Y'all know what I mean. The
Dracula
real ones
Machine.
get it.
A Hamlet Machine side account, Dracula Machine. I am gonna stick with Adam Sandler Dracula and throw Gary Oldman's Dracula in the trash for not only slipping me up, but I can't do the hair. Every time I watch the movie, it gets a little too much for me. So I'm weak. It's true.
I don't like cartoons that much, so Hotel Transylvania has never interested me enough to actually watch it.
That's fair. It's not very good. I can say that with like
I keep threatening
100%.
I keep threatening to watch it like every 3 months, I feel like. And then
You're
everyone's
so
like,
funny.
just
You're
watch
so
it.
Have you not seen it?
I've never seen it.
And
You're so
choosing
funny.
as Adam Sandler. I mean, I know you've seen Bram Stoker's Dracula, but sight unseen, you're choosing Adam Sandler Dracula over Gary Oldman Dracula. Okay.
Okay, next one up, anime edition, Vampire Knight or Vampire Hunter D.
Goes to Google once more. So I'm a visual little guy.
Oh, visual little guy. The titles of them are very close because they both have vampire in them.
Oh, I do recognize this.
That's a tough one because I feel like Vampire Knight was very important to me as a young girl. It was very influential. But Vampire Hunter D is actually good. I don't know. I have to think on this one for a moment.
I'm gonna say Vampire Hunter D because yeah, very similar to what Madeline said. Like Vampire Knight with its big ass eyes. Like it was so seminal to me, like learning how to draw. But looking back at it, I'm like, I can't. I'm an adult now. I can't go back to it.
I remember the manga when I got to the incest storyline. I was like, is this what all manga are like? Because it was one of the like first ones my like weeb friends like foisted on me, and I was like, I don't like this. No more manga for me, thank you. And then then I came back many years later and I was like, oh, there isn't an incest plotline in all manga. Manga can be okay.
Yeah, I think I do have to put Vampire Knight in the trash, but I do respect it and feel a lot of fondness for it. Lovingly, gently set it down in the trash.
Wren, did you finally land on
Oh yeah,
Vampire?
sorry. I thought I was saying I was putting Vampire Knight in the trash. I was still like in that moment, I was still thinking about Gary Oldman Dracula, so that's why you caught me off guard. But because Gary Oldman's like one of my hear me outs, so you got me all confused.
I flustered you.
You did.
You became Twitter pated with the suggestion. I'll also remark that Vampire D can be very ugly, and I'm starting to love uglier media more, especially uglier anime. So I like Uggo stuff lately.
Yeah. As we age and become monstrous, we have to see that reflected in the media that we watch.
Put perfectly.
The last one here is True Blood or The Vampire Diaries. Which one must go in the trash?
I've never seen either. And they both can go in the trash.
Equal opportunity trash.
I have only seen The Vampire Diaries. I have never watched True Blood. I've never read the books. And I also think that they can both go in the trash. I did enjoy watching The Vampire Diaries, but I would not say it's a good show.
You would not save it.
No, nobody needs it, really. I do kind of miss that era of like CW shows. I don't know, maybe they're still running out there and I don't watch TV anymore, but
It's not the same. I used to be an avid Flash watcher, and it's just not the same anymore. Too many children that are grown adults. It's very confusing.
ah, I enjoyed the Flash stuff,
Yeah,
the first few seasons.
they were really good, right?
Yeah, they were a good time.
They were.
I'm going to keep True Blood just for the mystique of it, that I knew it was a sexy show, and also my sister-in-law watched it, so it added an element of danger to her within the popular imagination.
Is that the one with like Suki Waterhouse or Suki Waterhouse or something like that? Or am I making up names?
Suki Stackhouse.
And that I just like associate that name with True Blood, and I'm like, oh, I guess it's just something I heard while the show was existing.
I love that it's one of those shows where, like, if you go onto the horny parts of the internet, there's just like super cuts of like sex scenes from them, and like within the context of the show, they seem very sexy. But if you watch like a full compilation, you're like, this is a little weird for me. This is a little not to my liking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for playing another round of Jigsaw's junk drawer. I will close the door. I will lock it up with a key. Enemies were made today regarding Mohawk Storm. But as with all Jigsaw's junk drawer segments, I must take all that I experienced and put it just back in the drawer. Just stuff it
Just
down.
stuff it.
So the
So
bits
next
keep.
week we can talk about the Mohawk.
So really, when we have Sarah Century on, oh, not to spoil who one of our future guests is, but she will be outraged about this opinion. So
Really? Oh my goodness.
I'll be in the majority once again. So with all that said, the drawer is closed, and now we must open a new drawer, a new
Ooh,
cubby. We'll put
yeah.
our
A new
outdoor
start.
things in our cubbies, and we'll sit down to our desks for school because it's time to talk about Vampire Academy. Madeline, please take it away, because this was a curveball. When I asked you for spooky media for this episode and vampire media specifically, I wasn't. This was not even on my radar at all. So I was very excited. You gave me an obscurity, a true obscurity that I was totally unaware of.
All right. So, Vampire Academy is a 2014 film based on a book from 2007 by Rochelle Mead. I don't remember offhand who directs the film, but it did come out in 2014. And it's about a vampire academy. So it's about these.
Not in the first 15 minutes. It's not.
Yeah.
No, it's about some other things too. It's about Rose, who is a vampire, which in this universe is someone who is a half vampire, half human, and they don't drink blood, but they are stronger than normal humans. And she protects her friend, whose name is Lissa, who is a Moroi, which is in this universe a good sort of vampire. They do drink blood, but they can kind of go out in the sun, and they have magic powers, and they're nice and pretty. And then also in this universe, there's the Strigoi, and they're bad vampires, and they drink more blood, and they're stronger. Do you want me to summarize the whole movie, or should we choose?
No, I mean, we can just dive in, but truly, you summarized all that lore more succinctly and in a more palatable version than the movie, which continues to dump lore at an excessive rate at various points. Yes, the kids love lore, but it was a lot to swallow. The other thing is okay, the Vampire Academy movie, this threw me off. The director is actually like has directed many things. Mark Waters. So here's some of his directorial credits: Freaky Friday, Mean Girls,
Wow.
The Spiderwick Chronicles, Mr. Popper's Penguins, Bad Santa 2, and then the He's All That movie, and then most recently, Mother of the Bride.
That's such
I know some of those things.
Yeah, so diverse, some would say.
When I learned Mr. Popper's Penguins was in the mix, I thought that was wildly hilarious. So, but Mean Girls director was interesting because a script truly does shape a film besides the director, because I'm not the hugest Mean Girls fan, but it is a cohesive, fun film. And this was an interesting film.
Quite interesting.
A very interesting film.
The way they would do their lore dumps was so funny to me. It's like I wish I could remember the name, but it's like this YouTube video. It's animated, and it's this guy, and he's like a little guy. He walks in the room, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Chase, age 43," and then the baby. Anyway, blah blah blah. But just the way they dumped lore is just like, yeah, and I'm Rose, and I'm 14, 16, 17, and this is Vampire Academy, and Vampire Academy is this, that, and the other. Just like it felt very explained by the characters, which I kind of loved.
I really enjoyed that. So it does take the characters we encounter there at the beginning have run away from Montana to Portland, Oregon, which is not really that far to run within the West. Like that's just like it's a long distance, but it's like maybe 2 major cities over. So it's not like they really bolted like dramatically far as far as city wise. But I really enjoyed that the first 15 minutes of the movie, it was very much not about a vampire school. And then it became about a vampire school. I also really enjoyed that it's very clear that the movie was like, yes, Twilight, yes, Harry Potter. Like, we will make this formula work and it'll be sexier. Like everyone's talking about losing their virginity constantly, which I also thought was a very funny aspect of the film.
Yeah, I think the like kind of the unsexy sexiness, I feel like works well in the YA setting, if that makes sense. I also, the last time I watched this was in my mid-20s, so I had not learned how to recognize actors yet, and I was surprised that Gabriel Byrne was the bad vampire. That was surprising to me.
There were a lot of like B-list actresses and actors in it, but a lot of them were British that I just happened to recognize, but I can't remember any of their names, but they're in the movie.
I really enjoyed going through the Wikipedia, and it really was like half of the people in this, their biggest credit was this film, and then the other half were like critical darlings who were like on The Crown or whatever. That was delightful. Absolutely delightful. It's also one of those interesting movies where it's like, it does have a budget. It like, like there was a budget, but it's not clear how much of a budget there was. And I had to look it up. So the first Twilight movie had a budget of 37 million, and this movie had a budget of 30 million. So they were really chasing that like Twilight experiment vibe. Yeah. I was fascinated by that because it really wanted to get that Twilight fever.
It was the era that was, the coattails that everyone was riding on at the time.
I wonder if like I was really curious about like the Russian angle. Like everybody was Russian. What's that about? I'm not against it, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting the first time I watched it, and also reading the books because a lot of like European vampire lore does come out of Eastern Europe, and so it was interesting to see that like acknowledged in an American series. And I guess like one thing about like Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles is that vampires, there are some characters that are from Eastern Europe, but mostly Eastern European vampires are like gross and ugly and live in the dirt. And the important vampires are all beautiful and blonde. So I think it's kind of neat to see things that don't do that. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that either. It's interesting.
So you read all the books?
The Vampire Academy books?
Yes.
I have read, well, I have listened to the audiobooks of all of them except the first one, except the Vampire Academy, because my library does not have it.
They don't want anyone to get hooked at the beginning. They still want to offer the experience to those who really want it, but they're not looking to make it easy.
Yeah, I would have to actually check out the paper book and read it with my eyeballs instead of having it beamed into my ears.
There's two interesting elements. There's this wild, before we were cool with gay people, bisexual angle that's very hilarious in this film, where it's like just girls messing with girls, tee hee hee hee. But it's also like, no, their true love interests are boys. And that was a very and there's a big like plot point about being, what was it, shadow kissed or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Getting all neck bit by another vampire. That was very interesting, and they kept like making all these jokes about them like being lesbians or whatever, and that was delightful. The age gap relationship was also wild to me, of just this supposed teenager who's played by an adult who looks kind of like Kristen Stewart, or that actor at the time. And then we have, just this guy, this stoner looking dude. So,
Stoner.
or just greasy, just kind of not stoner, but just like, just a greasy dude.
Yeah, I guess every teenage girl needs a vampire princess girlfriend and an inappropriately old boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Truly tapping into that Hot Topic girl age gap relationship that's wildly toxic and shouldn't exist.
I think age gap relationships are like a literary tradition in YA, especially YA of the 90s and early 2000s. And I think culture is moving away from that, which is maybe good, probably neutral. I don't know what it means, but it probably means something, that authors were interested in that and maybe less interested in that now. But that's what I read growing up. So
yeah, same. I feel like that has influenced my like a little bit of my writing, and also like my personal life, where I'm like, yeah, I want to date like an older person, because I'm like, oh, just like in my books, they're like wiser and they can like teach me, how to fight and how to fire a gun or whatever. And younger people, I would have to teach those kinds of things. So
yeah, I don't want the responsibility of teaching a younger person how to fire a gun.
I was very worried about where this podcast would go, as you would say, like, I want to date a 17-year-old. And I'm like, oh, no.
No.
That sounds so awful.
It would be so, like, what do we have in common? What would we talk about? I would be like, I have to pay rent. And they'd be like, oh, promise tomorrow. I can't help you. I gotta pay rent.
Can't take you to Johnny Carino's or the Spaghetti Factory for prom because I have to pay rent and my car is broken and I have to pay my car insurance.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I have work tomorrow. Like, I don't know why you think that I can be involved with this.
There's so many reasons not to have an age gap relationship, and the biggest one is that you don't want to have to teach a teen how to do Excel spreadsheets.
Oh my god, yeah.
You could use the tab
I
button.
had to teach an adult person how to use Excel spreadsheets. I cannot imagine some like skibbity riz, like kind of young person trying to like teach them like hotkeys and like functions and what have you. They would just be, I'm imagining they'd be on their phone making fun of me for being a nerd.
So instead of saluting all the problematic age gap relationship havers out there, we will salute computer science teachers in public schools teaching kids how to make PowerPoints.
Those poor teachers.
Yeah, thank you for your work.
Honestly, thank you for your hard sacrifices. Like, do you remember the devious licks trend?
No.
No.
It's like students would like steal stuff from school, and it would start with like like a calculator to a toilet, like just taking like people took toilets and like projectors and all kinds of things where it's like, how did you get this home? Like, what kind of car do you drive? I don't understand. How did nobody see? It's just those poor teachers and janitor workers, everybody involved.
When they did the research, they found out they were all 17-year-olds dating like 23-year-olds with vans.
That's so funny. Like, how did they know?
I'm trying to think. The other thing that really jumped out to me about Vampire Academy is the Twilight thing, but there's also kind of some Harry Potter energy. And this really was like that period where I think people started to realize that just because they're at a school for magic or whatever, it doesn't mean that's necessarily interesting. And I wish sometimes middle grade publishing would realize that school isn't very interesting most of the time.
Yes, we all wish people knew this.
Things don't have to be said at a school.
It doesn't help anyone. School's not doing you any good. In a book, you should probably go to school in real life. I don't know. I was homeschooled. I didn't go to school, so I don't know.
Advocating for school as someone who didn't go to school. But yeah, I just thought it was hilarious that like the school scenes were like wildly often the least interesting parts of the movie. I felt like I really loved the like weirdo vampire queen who just showed up to be weird. Like just was like, I came out of my coffin to scold my successor or whatever in front of the entire school.
Aren't they related? Why would you do that to your niece?
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions about like this world and like what is this queen doing the rest of the time?
She's just in the auditorium, like powered off.
That's where she lives. Her coffin is under the podium.
Yeah, it does seem to imply that she doesn't live elsewhere, that as the queen of like vampire kind she would just hang out at a school, which sounds like the exact opposite of what I'd want to do if I was the like leader of an entire like secret race or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember this from the books because I listened to them a very long time ago. But like when they're going at the end to rescue Lissa from Victor, yes, they're driving like within the school compound and they're driving for a while. So maybe it's just like a really big compound and a lot of vampires live there. Like there's other things besides the school.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That would make sense.
I
just had. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, I've been to schools in Montana, public schools in Montana, and they are not massive compounds, despite Montana being very big.
So funny. If only. I just had a thought, and it is that the principal was working for Victor, right? Like, she was doing... But then at the end of the movie, she's just there chilling. She's just like, hey, I'm the principal again.
Was she tricked? Can they not find anyone else for the job?
Yeah, I have no idea. She like continually was doing evil activities, and then she got like put to sleep with a needle and was like, I could have been a model and yada yada. And then she's just principal again. Nobody cares.
It truly does show the like way that private K-12 schools can be corrupt, that bad administrators with no credentials can just continue to like rule the place. And teachers are very undervalued but are guilted into it because they must raise the next generation of vampires, as all private schools are based on the principle of. So I liked, this was fun. I had a fun time watching this film. It would have come out like our sophomore year of college, junior year of college.
Yeah, it would have been a fun theater trip if we knew that it was happening.
But I
Was
was
it a
clearly
theatrical
too
release?
cool for this.
Probably.
That was kind of, I at the time I would not have engaged with it in good faith, I don't think. But I'm glad to
No.
be a grown adult watching it and having a dandy time.
Yeah, I think like even for its like less goodness, it brings up interesting topics like with the Professor Cat, and she like becomes a Strigoi, or however you pronounce it, because she's like can't handle the stress and power of being a vampire. I think that's like very interesting, and I'm like that could have been explored and made an interesting thing, but alas, we did not get that.
I had to double check the actor's name. But after I so recently did a watch of the entirety of Modern Family, when
Mhm.
Sarah Hyland came on, who plays Ellie in
Yes.
Modern Family, I was like, wait a minute. Like, and this was arguably like one of the high points of her career, like doing Modern Family. And this was, I think, as far as like her agent being like, you should play this villain. And then it not being all that, I guess. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. She was fun. I liked
Oh
her
yeah.
villain turn at the end.
Yeah, she's very cute.
Yeah,
She
she's
got
Um
adorable
nasty.
and then evil. It was fun.
yeah. Is this the only movie, or is it like a series?
Vampire Academy? Or yeah, this is the movie, and then I think they maybe had plans for sequels, and then it didn't do very well. And then the new series is unrelated. It's just another Vampire Academy series. So no,
Mhm.
that's it. Maybe we should watch the series and then talk about that.
It is very serious.
Oh,
I watched part of it, and it is.
did it scratch that CW itch for you, or
No.
no?
It wishes. It wishes.
Whoa.
Brutal.
Not even slightly. It was too overproduced
What
for
a
it to
damning
scratch that itch.
critique.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just like not interesting. And I am easily interested. And it did not catch my attention. I was like playing a game while watching it. And it didn't catch me at all. Unlike Vampire Academy, the movie, which like I didn't expect, but it had me zoned in, laser focused. I was like, oh my God, what is happening?
It's gripping.
Yeah, it is
It gets you.
gripping.
I like those nasty dogs at the end. Those were great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were.
Love a freaky big dog.
Any closing thoughts on Vampire Academy? Oh, the reason why I actually knew this movie existed before is when Churches was really big, the like electronic pop band who has a V in their name instead of a U. When they were really big, I listened to their cover of Bela Lugosi's Dead. That was on the soundtrack so many times. And I remember
Oh,
the poster like being posted on the like YouTube thumbnail, and then I like saw what the actual movie was, and I was like, wait, this is the movie where that song was from. That cover of Bauhaus's very big goth hit that I really liked as an electronic pop ad song. So
yeah. I remembered this movie from there was a period of my life where I was watching like a lot of Netflix movies. just back to back to back to back to back. And this came up on Netflix. I remember starting it and not liking it, and not ever coming back to it until now. I'm like, wow, now I like it. How crazy. Growth.
Character development.
Growth. I think I acquired a DVD copy of this of Vampire Academy, but before I had only watched it on streaming because it was on Netflix for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard the Bela Lugosi's Dead cover until I watched it last night. So it's neat. I actually got to watch the credits, unlike on Netflix, where they make you watch something else.
No acknowledgement for you. Well, thank you, Madeline, for coming on to our podcast once again. This time, I didn't force you to talk about Transformers. This time, I forced you to talk about vampires. So, is there anything you would like our wonderful listeners to go out and buy, or where they can find you further, or what your price is for scaring kids straight by eating dirt in front of them? Whatever services you provide to this world.
So you should buy and read the Accursed Vampire graphic novels that I made. You can find me online at MadelineMcGrane.com or on Instagram at Madeline McGrane. And I do need a job, so I would probably not charge that much to eat dirt in front of teens at this point. So just email me or something. You can find my email on my website.
You also did a very good recent release with our friend Pete Fakey too, that I really liked. And I would just like to shout out Pete Fakey because Pete does wonderful comics. It wasn't called Critters. That was the Fantagraphics furry anthology. It was called
It's called a Hairball.
Yeah.
It's Double Digest Volume 3 Hairball.
Go by Pete Fakey.
Yes.
So awesome. Well, thank you, Madeline. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in for another episode of Your Trash Pals. You can follow the podcast on all the places that we have the podcast. So Instagram, we cross post to the Facebook for all you Gen X boomers out there that love our podcast. We post our episodes up on YouTube after they've streamed on Twitch, which is where the youths watch it. And we have determined finally a reasonable schedule for ourselves and when these episodes should come out. So we are going to keep doing our live episodes on Tuesdays, and then our episodes will actually go up on Mondays. So we actually have a weekend to work on them instead of scrambling in the middle of the week. And we think that will finally be a reasonable goal we've set for ourselves. So we have said we've said so many things in the past, but this time we're sticking to it.
You can sorry, a lot of uhs today. You can follow me at Wren.psd and Van Notes on Instagram at Van Notes Books. You can also support our Ko-fi at kofi.com/yourtrashpals.
And just a special spooky plug, I had my new graphic novel, Piggy Desert Nightmare, come out, which is essentially if you wanted a graphic novel about a video game character doing Mad Max stuff. If you like horror video games and you wish they had more Mad Max energy, then you should buy that graphic novel for your local youth who loves Roblox. That is my suggestion. The fans seem to really like it. Piggy drives a tank, which everyone really seemed to like. So instead of doing a fake ad at the end of the podcast, that is the real ad. That is the real ad for my publisher, who did not pay me to do that special ad, but nonetheless, I will shill. You can also write into the podcast if you would like us to talk about something, whether you would like us to elaborate on whether we think something is trash or treasure, or you can DM us on Instagram, or whichever way you would like to get a hold of us. I read it all very closely. But yeah, until the next time you want to hire us to eat dirt in front of some youths and scare them straight, Thank you for listening to Your Trash Pals. And remember to reduce, reuse, and recycle.
recycle.
Yay!